Hello and welcome to another Middleborn Arms video. Today we're doing a Gladius, and since I had not done one of my fun little quick sketches similar to the other videos, I decided instead to draw this little guy in the style of Asterix and Obelix, the Gauls from the famous French Asterix comic that I grew up reading in French because I didn't read it in English. They didn't have those in France. Anyway, I start out with the outline design that you can see there, and then cut it out. This is, how I do pretty much all my swords. I've got this down to a science on all the dimensions, and sometimes I even cut them correctly. So that's exciting. I don't think I had as many problems with the blade on this one. I believe I cut it earlier than the videos on the previous ones. I don't know why I'm releasing these videos out of order, except for the fact that, oh wait, yeah I do. I made this sword last, or finished it last. Get that little tip profile. Remember to keep your fingers safe. It looks a little bit more dangerous than what it actually is. I've made sure that my hand is positioned behind the blade and not in front of it, and that. So I'm being very careful. And here you can see the profile. It's got the curves that I want for a Mainz or Republic style Gladius. And here I am refining that shape with the spoke shave. And this takes a good amount of time. I do have a round bottom spoke shave that would probably do this a little bit better, but I have not figured out how to make the round bottom spoke shave work correctly. And it's still fun to say round bottom spoke shave. That spoke shave has got himself a round bottom. Anyway, marking the edge bevel profile, so I want to have about 1/4 of an inch thick edge so it can withstand some damage while still having a nice tapering profile. And one of these days I'm going to get myself a smaller plane to do this, because a number 4 plane, while it is excellent, it's big, it's bulky, it's heavy, and even though I'm a fairly large individual, I get tired quickly using it. But the shavings are always fun, so we have that going for us. And I'm using the spoke shave to pull off a little bit more material and a little bit more precisely. And then the grain, sometimes in a small section, will be twisted the other way, so that's fun. And here I'm going to show a little bit more of the sanding process, and my table is a little bit uneven, so I end up with the creeping water bottle of doom after I water pop it. Get back there. Alright. And that's sanding done. And here's a random clip of me moving things around. Alright, so here I'm going to seal off this little tiny hole with some CA glue. I actually didn't tape off the other side of the hole, so a lot of that thin CA glue went all the way through to the table, which shows you how brilliant I am at all of this. But I got it eventually. And here you'll notice, probably have noticed that I've got a walnut core in the middle of my hickory sword. And I actually did offer a just hickory Gladius, but not a single person has ever purchased one. Everyone wants that, walnut core. And so, yeah, I haven't shown the glue up, but glue ups are boring, which is why I'm going to show one right now. And as you can tell, my glue ups here are, my gluing skills are phenomenal. And so are my clamp choosing skills. Yeah, the C clamp didn't work, so go to the F clamps, the Menards brand, because I'm really fancy. And I like to clean up a little bit so I don't have as much to do later on. And this is actually another Gladius that I've been working on that we can look at while the glue is drying. And I have a third Gladius I was also working on at the same time. So So here I am wood turning, and for all of you natural, incredibly good wood turners out there, please don't laugh at me too hard, because my wood turning skills are, what's the word? They're developing. They're developing, yeah. This, I took off way too much material. It was a little bit too thick, but it's hard to find the right thickness when you need a nice beefy pommel for a sword. And walnut actually, for me, hasn't turned super well. That could be because I don't know how to sharpen my tools correctly, or some other reason, I'm not sure. And if I'm using this tool wrong, please shut up. I don't need to hear it. Actually, no, please tell me. I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but I tend to get pretty close to the results that I want. Anyways, and here's a great shot of my shirt. There it is again. And yeah, more of my shirt. That's just great. It's cinematic gold. And then through cinema magic, I'm going to show you the finished pommel. Well, kind of. I have to cut off the thing, but I made the joint, and that fits in just perfectly. That's nice. It's always a joy when it actually works and fits in nice and tight. Alright, and then here comes the sanding of the pommel to try to make those grooves in the middle smooth. As you'll see later, there was quite a bit of tear out in the walnut that I end up having to fix. But to get those grooves, I have a little dowel in the middle of the sandpaper that gets that roundness. So here I am adding CA glue to those little grooves and trying to get all the sawdust out of them so I can see them and plug them all up. And the great part about this is that it necessitates even more sanding, which is my favorite part. I think there's a level in hell that's just people sanding wood that never sands correctly, and you're constantly having to go back several grits. That would be my torment. But the grain pattern of the glue up looks amazing on this. I think I'm really happy with the shape, even though it's a really big old chunky boy. And it spins, woohoo! And out comes the spindle sander. It's a little bit of how my setup works. Of course, hooking it up to the thing, and there you can see a few of the swords from previous videos, as well as some swords that will come into play maybe later on, who knows. And here I'm just trying to figure out which spindle will work the best to get the design that I want. A lot of times I would have cut this on the bandsaw, but I didn't really feel like doing that this time. And since I have a spindle sander now, I can do it that way. And of course, it's actually really fun to mess around with this because I suck at it. But you make things work eventually, sometimes. And it takes off that material really well and really cleanly, and I don't have to do as much cleaning as if I had used the bandsaw. And I actually got the wrong size here, so I ended up having to go back up a size, I believe, which was fun. And I fixed that. But this is a bit of a unique guard design for Gladius. I like to do different things. As an artist, it's difficult for me to do. Yeah, there's my switch up. Going for the right size now. I like to do different things with most of the swords just to avoid stagnation. But there are some designs that I find myself coming back to a little bit more often. And they're using the K-bar to pry things open. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. Everyone should have one. And just more shaping. More shaping. I love that the spindle sander gives me the control of having a completely flat base. And there we go. It fits. Look at that. Isn't that nice? And here comes sanding. Oh, sanding. Such joy. Such joy. Now this is joy. This is satisfaction. Look at how nice that looks after the oil. Alright. And then adding the epoxy. I did not film me mixing it up. Actually, no, I did. That's a lie. I just didn't put it in this video because you've seen it twice now if you've watched the other videos, and really stirring epoxy is not exciting. But I need to have the guard epoxied on there so I can add the handle scales. These add a little bit of girth to the handle as I will shape it into the kind of unique Gladius style that all Gladius swords should have. And here I am measuring it, and I actually had the things a little bit too, the scales were a little bit too wide for the handle, and I didn't cut off the excess material, which led to me starting this process, having to stop, cut off the excess material, and then go back to it. And here I am trying to figure out a leveling system so that the sword remains level all the way down, and it helps me with the process, and just, gives me a cleaner result, a little bit easier than if I was just trying to freehand it. But I found a better solution later on that you don't get to see because I forgot to film. Actually, I didn't forget to film. I just decided not to film because I was really annoyed and I didn't want to bother with the camera. But yeah, that's when I realized I had too much material, so I hogged that off and then did some more marking, and here we are actually doing shaping correctly. And I'll also show me working on the other Gladius. Here you go. That's a view of me finishing up the other side of this Gladius. This design also came out looking really good. I was really happy with it. And it was the design as I envisioned it from the start, so it worked really well. And here I'm going to oil the handle. It just, if you can't enjoy an oiling process, I mean, what is wrong with you, really? Seriously. Of course, adding a little coat of extra on the pommel and the guard. Go alongside it. And up next, I'm going to tell you a little story about how I was really happy with something, and then it turned out just wrong. So the artistic process is one of, iteration. So this fit in perfectly. I was happy. I shared this on socials. I'm like, look how good it fits. And then I made this out of it. A poop. A giant poop. And I couldn't make it work. So, yeah, see that poop? Look at that poop. All right, no, see that poop. And I actually have no idea where it went in my shop. And I replaced it with this piece that I think looks amazing. The grain pattern is excellent. And it fit the sword design for the guard on there just brilliantly. So there's more epoxying. I did do laser etching on all these swords for my maker's mark. I don't show that because it's really difficult to get video of laser that doesn't just look like I'm trying to do a Michael Bay or J.J. Abrams lens flare off. But yeah, those are the swords all glued up and finished. And so here we have our glamour shot. Look at those beauties. All three unique, and yet all three pretty much the same. All of the mainz-style Gladiuses with the walnut hickory core, or the walnut core and the hickory. It just looks nice. And if you can tell, the wood grain on the swords is the same as the previous two. And that's it. You know, like, subscribe, share, do whatever. Appreciate you watching this long. And you know what? We'll catch you on the flip side. Next week's video, Lord willing, if I can get it done, is going to be a banger of a weapon.